Hi, I'm Sukhjinder Singh, and this is SEO in 2025.
So, Jinder, what's your number one SEO tip for 2025?
Thanks, David. Yeah, it's basically working smarter and staying relevant. So it's essentially just trying to make the best of your time, trying to stay as informed as possible, and trying to work smarter in all the information that you're collecting about SEO in the fast-paced SEO industry, and working smarter as well.
So, how does working smarter help you stay relevant?
It's basically trying to make the most of my time. So I've been working on the agency side for about 15 years, which, as you can imagine, if anyone's worked in an agency or known anyone that has, it can be quite hectic and demanding, both as a delivery person and kind of in management. So I headed up a department and I was a senior SEO for a number of years. So you're chopping and changing, and you're having to kind of compartmentalize things, and all the while doing delivery and thinking about strategies and team management, trying to think strategically and broadly about the SEO industry, and trying to just stay well informed, relevant, and kind of cutting edge in your strategies and stuff. So trying to find the time was always a challenge, but there were hacks that I learnt along the way, and I've carried them over to a different setting of being busy, which is as a freelancer. Coming up to 2 years now, I've been freelancing, and I am busy in a different way, in that I'm just focusing on fewer things, but I'm the only one that can do them. So again, time is a really big commodity, and just trying to carve that time out and trying to be smarter in how I can upskill during the day, and working smarter to free up that time.
So, have those hacks to be more productive that you used when you were agency side stayed the same, or have you used different hacks as you've been an SEO freelancer?
They've, for the most part, stayed the same. So at the agency side, so a typical day, we would carve out some time every morning to read, Search Engine Land, Search Engine Journal, go through all of our Twitter feed and LinkedIn, following, John Muller, Gary Iles, etc., Danny Sullivan, a lot of industry experts, and just trying to read for at least 15, 20 minutes. And then for myself as a manager, having a top level review of all the strategies. So just trying to stay informed throughout the day and seeing if there are any algorithm updates or any search validity or whatever. So just trying to stay informed and have news alerts set up, Google alerts set up and whatnot. And also, one of the big things that I did miss initially going into freelance is a team. So having team huddles, team chats, every day, once a week in more detail, where everybody shares their ideas. And so everybody's been upskilling, talking and working on their own campaigns. And they've got their own bits of news that you didn't pick up, and also their take on that news as well. So how did they disseminate that info and apply it to their strategies? What do they think is important and what did they discard? And that was really, really valuable that I initially missed out on, but I had to kind of recapture through joining freelancer teams, WhatsApp groups, Slack groups, etc., to kind of do that. It's not quite the same. It's not as immediate, but I'm kind of getting there on that side.
It's interesting that you took that time at the beginning of the day to really try and be up to date with everything, really focus on Google algorithm updates, and even had different alerts set up to actually make sure that you're aware of anything as soon as it happened. Now, you could also argue that that's not that efficient because you don't want to be too reactive to algorithm changes. You want to see what impact they had. But you think you were actually trying to stay on top of things like that, because if a client found out first or asked you about it first, then you might not seem up to speed if you didn't know about it.
Yeah, absolutely. That was part of it. So it was that reassurance to them that, oh yeah, I did hear about that and I'm not just kind of blagging it. Like, embarrassingly, when the Google leak first hit, I was really busy that week, and I saw all this chatter and I thought it's probably just another reactionary thing, whatever. And then a client mentioned, he goes, oh, just to let you know, I got this link and that. You probably already knew this though. And I was like, oh yeah, I already knew this. I was like, God, yeah, how did I miss that? And it had been a day already. And so I just deep dive into that, just reading it on the treadmill at the gym and that. Oh, God, this is good. I can't believe I missed this. And so it's a combination of staying informed for the clients, And also for myself, and yeah, there's a lot of reactionary news, particularly in this industry. I hate to say it, but it's kind of true. So it is actually a little bit inefficient as well, but it's kind of, I've gotten used to knowing what to kind of discard and what to kind of keep and take seriously. And I kind of build a resource of like a spreadsheet. I've got a spreadsheet for the client purpose. So any big thing over the years, I can look it up quickly and reference the link to the source and the main takeaway from my end. And so this spreadsheet's grown over the last 2, 3 years, in combination with, big bookmark lists and stuff. So I can literally find anything around, AI, EEAT is all categorized, but that's mostly a me kind of organized OCD thing, which served me well.
You used a phrase there. You've gotten used to what to discard and what to keep. You kind of just glossed over that, and it's maybe more intuitive to you now, but that's really tough for SEOs, certainly in the first couple of years of their careers. Can you offer any advice in terms of how an SEO decides upon what to listen and listen to and what not to listen to?
Yeah, unfortunately, one part of it has been experience of reading news and realizing there was nothing really that significant about it. It was just a kind of more editorial. And so, like algorithm updates meant something, when they were announced 4 years ago, plus maybe. But now they're more frequent, which is fine, but they're kind of more broader. Core algorithm updates. You've got to look at everything involved and not just one kind of thing. So yeah, whenever there is one of those, for example, yeah, I'll have a look at some of the data and everything. But mostly I'm looking at my own clients to say, okay, so what, are we impacted or whatever? And it's usually a quick thing. So yeah, it's experience of knowing what to take seriously and what not, and also I don't know how can I summarize that? There's a lot more editorial articles than news articles, I think, with digital marketing blogs. And so I just think the tone of the title, and fortunately they summarize a lot of stuff as well at the top. I think that is useful to kind of have a snapshot of that to see if it's worth carrying on reading. And also, I've started using a ChatGPT plugin. I'm just trying to look it up because I've noted it down somewhere. Oh yeah, YouTube summary with ChatGPT. I know the name says that. Essentially, it gives you a shortcut when you're on an article and you hit, X a couple of times and it summarizes the whole thing for you.
Why is it called YouTube Summary? Does it also summarize videos?
Yes, it does, which is super helpful. So it'll basically summarize the video. I haven't used it too much on videos because I just listen to the video on fast. But with the articles, a massive article, it'll just bullet point the main takeaways, and you can customize the prompt that it uses to do that. So ChatGPT has helped quite a bit disseminate all of this stuff, particularly the Google leak, where I was just trying to figure out what are the facts, what are the takeaways from the experts, and then now what are my takeaways.
Something else that continues to evolve is the technology that you use in your website. How do you select the optimum, most up-to-date technology that you use and your clients use, and how do you stay on top of that?
Yeah, from the agency days, what I carried over was evaluating all the tools I use twice a year. So I categorize them by on-site, off-site, technical, keyword research, etc. And I basically have another spreadsheet. So I basically have my main features that I absolutely need and my nice to haves, pricing and all that. And I just kind of evaluate, how do they all compete? 9 times out of 10, there's loads and loads of crossover. So just can't avoid that. But I do that one exercise. And then also I just keep my eye out. So I basically just have a look at what are my colleagues using. So you ask on WhatsApp and on Slack or whatnot, what are you guys using for this and everything? Test them out. Every now and then I trial something and I just try to read stuff. So actual reviews from people on tools, like at the moment, AI overviews. I just want to see how well people incorporate them into existing keyword reporting tools. How does it look? And, can I get away with the tools I'm using already when they integrated there, or do I need to get a unique one? So I'm keeping my eye out, periodically doing a Google search and having a look at some tools that are available.
That's a good tip. So be aware of how the SERP presents itself, and if a new feature like AI overviews suddenly appears, then make sure that the tool that you're currently using can serve that, and research to see if there are other tools that does a better job of giving you information about that.
Essentially, yeah. And also just having a constant think about your needs and what things you're spending time on to see, is there any opportunity to just spend less time on this and just pay for it, basically? So, God, what's a good example? So I'm having a look at PR and outreach again to do that hands-on. And so I'm looking for tools to help speed that up, every single, from sourcing the sources, and journalists and whatnot, through to kind of outreaching. And I'm trying to buy a way up, is it faster than how I would automate it in Gmail on my end? And then how can I build that into the costing? And I have a natural instinct to be quite cheap. So I just think, okay, does it make sense on the table? And is it going to make your life easier, basically, and still add value, even more value to the client? So just trying to think about that, with relation to tools that I might need.
And talking about costs and tools, and also perhaps once a year do an audit of the tools that you're actually paying for, and making sure that you're not paying for anything that you're not actually using.
Yeah, exactly. It gets really easy to let that stuff slide. And these big tools, it's just surprising. They pack so much into the tools and justify the cost, which is fair enough. But if you're using several tools, then there's going to be some wastage. So it's just kind of constantly having a look at, how often am I using this, and can I get away with, I had to get rid of one tool recently I've been using for 3 or 4 years, because I thought, well, I can actually do a little bit of extra work and use this other tool. So yeah, you have to keep your hat on with that. And I find it useful to schedule in those evaluations. Otherwise I forget.
And are there any other ways that you can share that you're incorporating AI into your workflow to make your day-to-day activities more efficient?
Yeah, it's a lot. So I paid for ChatGPT. Just started paying for it before the latest version got released. So I thought, oh, well, this is borderline worth it. But it is actually worth it, because there are a lot of other GPTs included in there for things like programming and creative writing and stuff. So I basically use it for most tasks. So mostly research. So I try to kind of define the audiences that I'm targeting, what would they be searching for. And I think the latest update remembers stuff more. So it remembers that I'm a SEO consultant and I've got certain clients in certain industries. And I just try to build. Oh, yeah, and the other thing is, it's better at having a persona, building a persona. So I am so and so. So I'll feed it a persona and say, I'm a purchasing manager looking for this product. What would I search for? What information do I need to make a purchase, etc. And so that research as a research tool is very useful, as well as a efficiency of, here's a spreadsheet. Can you match this column to this, and yada yada.
Are you ever concerned about feeding it too much information and it remembering the information and using that information as its training data?
Yes. Yeah, all the time. And it's just like, well, what do you do then? So it's just kind of like, if it was just my information, then fair enough, whatever. The damage is done. But like with client information, I am careful. So it's mostly data, and it's not, content's going to be crawled anyway, I think, even though this is a way to stop them.
Do you talk to clients and tell them exactly what you're doing with that data in ChatGPT?
No, only because the content that I'm feeding it would have been crawled anyway. So I don't tell them about that. I didn't really think about that, because I don't think there's anything else that I would need to tell them about in terms of a concerning way, because a lot of it's general keyword research, analytical data, which is anonymized. So there's no too much distinctive information that's not already crawlable. But it's a really good concern, that, because I still find it a concern. So I always think twice before hitting submit. Even when I upload my own documents, like, I had some legal stuff. I was like, I'm just trying to figure out this contract, summarize it for me. And I'm like, great. So now that contract is training this now. So it's a good point. Yeah.
If an SEO is struggling for time, what should they stop doing right now so they can spend more time doing what you suggest in 2025?
Yeah, struggling for time's a tricky one. So it's just kind of like, I did initially think, well, you'll have to find the time in it. But really, a more intuitive answer would be to just think about what are the important things you need to get done during the day, and what are your blockers, as a starting point to figure out then what can I do to resolve those. And I guess it might come down to, okay, I do have to find time to read the basics every day, maybe. And so carve out X amount of minutes during the day and block out time if you're on an agency or you're in-house, if you're struggling for time. Agree for a certain time slot where you're not interrupted and you can upskill and also work on your own admin and housekeeping and stuff to improve your own processes and whatnot. So get that time blocked out. And also think about smart ways to get information. So I listen to a lot of podcasts while at the gym and running and stuff. I also use plugins to kind of break down articles. I use a highlight and read function on my phone to read blogs sometimes. Like if I just want to close my eyes after a long task and just have a break and read, listen to something. So there's different hacks you can do. Just try and see what's important first, justify the time, and then carve out the time, basically.
Sukhjinder Singh is a freelance SEO consultant, and you can find him over at idoseo.co.uk. Sukhjinder, thanks so much for being part of SEO in 2025.
Cheers, David. Thanks for having me.
I've been your host, David Bain. Get your copy of SEO in 2025, the book, over at seoin2025.com.